In 2012, more than 10,000 people died from alcohol-impaired driving crashes, according to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. That's a fatality every 51 minutes. Think about that. We've been at work for a couple hours. Statistically, a couple people have already died this morning in our nation. Impaired driving is a continual causation factor for deaths on our roadways in the United States. My name is Kenneth Salisbury. I'm a detective with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I've been assigned to the fatal detail, and I investigate fatal traffic collisions and have been doing so since May of 2012. In the last 4.5 years, I've been an investigator on more than 350 of these traffic-related fatalities in the Las Vegas area. From experience, I can tell you the more we understand the consequences of impaired driving, the better we become in our efforts of reducing traffic-related fatalities. But how serious is this problem? Impaired driving is prevalent in our society despite strenuous efforts to educate the public and billions of dollars spent. According to one study by Amy Jouett for the Center of Disease Control, in 2012, an estimated 4.2 million Americans admitted to drinking and driving in the 30 days preceding her study. Alcohol-impaired motor vehicle crashes cost more than an estimated $37 billion annually, according to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. Author Lisa Drew published a paper in 2010 indicating impaired drivers were involved in 1/3 of all traffic-related injuries and deaths. So, people admit to driving impaired, there's a $1 billion strain on the economy, and there's a correlation in the causation of traffic injuries and deaths. But who's really affected? Impaired driving affects more people than you may know. When someone is arrested for impaired driving, we can all agree that their life is significantly changed. But they're not the only ones. Spending time in jail is no laughing matter, but what about that arrested person's family? Families are ripped apart with a single arrest. Too often, I've encountered a struggling spouse because their significant other is incarcerated for making the decision to drive impaired. With impaired drivers being involved in 1/3 of all injury and fatal collisions, we can safely say they leave behind tens of thousands of victims in their wake each year. Not just those injured or killed, but the family members of those people as well. Working professionals are also affected. Emergency trauma workers have the arduous task of trying to save victims of impaired driving. Their continuous exposure to maimed bodies from impaired driving is tasking both physically and emotionally. With impaired driving having such an impact on our society, on so many people, what can we do to prevent it? Simply stating after-the-fact consequences doesn't change behavior in people. So many people don't go out and say, I want to drink and drive and kill somebody today. Matthew Rosheim from the Department of Global and Community Health found that 61.5% of people either underestimated or overestimated their level of alcohol intoxication following his study. If people don't know they are above the legal limit, most of the time, we must first get them to understand their level of impairment before driving. This can be done through preliminary breath tests, ignition interlock devices, or even an app on your cell phone. Dr. Ralph Hingson is the director of National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. He determined a multifaceted approach of alcohol taxation, lowering of legal blood alcohol limits, and sobriety checkpoints would all reduce alcohol-related motor vehicle crashes and deaths. Victims' impact panels are another valuable tool. The arrested driver participates in a seminar by hearing the stories of surviving members of victims who died from impaired driving. In conclusion, Traffic-related fatalities claim the lives of 35,000 people yearly. A third of those will have involved an impaired driver. As a society, we become stagnant in our reduction of this problem. Traffic-related fatalities are a drain on our economy and result in sudden and violent losses of life in the thousands yearly. This problem doesn't affect one demographic. It affects all of us. We are all one phone call away from learning that a loved one has become a victim to an impaired driver. It is commonly known and understood that impaired driving is dangerous. But as society progresses, we become acceptant of a certain amount of risk and of loss while driving. A third of these deaths can be prevented simply by reducing the number of impaired drivers on the road. Thank you for your sincere attention regarding this very serious matter.